Hello everyone, Brian Kibler here, bringing you another in my constructed video series here at StarCityGames.com. And as you can see on your screen, this week I'm going to be playing some Modern. Modern is going to get a bit of a shakeup. Probably by the time that you have heard this, you're seeing this, the ban restricted announcement will be going live. So I chose to play a deck that I felt was unlikely to be touched by any of the ban restricting announcement. This is the 4-color Zoo deck played by Zach Rorda that made the top 8 of Grand Prix Omaha a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, obviously this kind of deck is right up my alley. You know, it's an aggressive deck that uses my buddy Wild Nakatl here. You know, the mixture of Bolt, Path, and Helix for removal. And then dips into a 4th color, away from just the traditional Naya, to play Anafenza and Siege Rhino. Siege Rhino's been getting a lot of attention in Modern. Anafenza a bit less so, but I think Anafenza is really exciting in addition to the Rhino. I think that Anafenza A, you know, as it's just 4/4 body for 3, is pretty powerful. Alongside cards like Loxodon Smiter, you know, doesn't die to Lightning Bolt, doesn't die to Lightning Helix. But also, both of Anafenza's abilities are quite relevant. Modern is a format that can sometimes degenerate into creature stalls between Tarmogoyfs, and Anafenza's ability to attack and pump your other guys can make them a lot more threatening. You know, if you have, you know, your opponent has Wall of Roots or whatever, you know, your Anafenza can help your guys get through and continue getting damage in. Additionally, the ability that Anafenza has to exile any creature that goes to the graveyard on your opponent's side of the table means that it works really well against a lot of the persist effects that are popular in the Birthing Pod decks. You know, cards like Kitchen Finks, cards like Murderous Redcap. Those cards get largely neutered by Anafenza's ability, so that's a very powerful effect. Also helps against any creatures going to the graveyard to fuel Delve as well. So you know, any kind of, you know, crazy, like, you know, just graveyard decks in general, it can do a lot to mitigate that. So a pretty powerful combination of abilities on a very sizable body. It does mean that your mana is more complicated, but you already are playing Siege Rhino, and I think that Siege Rhino is you know, a huge deal in terms of, you know, being like a large threat that also presses your opponent's life total and keeps you alive in any kind of matchup where you know, your own life total matters, whether it's burn, whether it's, you know, some kind of you know, combo deck that can do a limited amount of damage. I think that both of these are very powerful. I've always been a huge fan of Qasali Pridemage. Pridemage, I think, has been historically positioned well in Modern, at least before the last set. Khans of Tarkir definitely made it so that, you know, there's not necessarily quite as much affinity in Birthing Pod because there's so much Delver. But Qasali Pridemage is a very powerful card against a lot of different enchantment and artifact-based decks in the format, and also just provides a sizable body and you know, the fact that you can, you know, have the same sort of effect that you do with Anafenza, with the dudes attacking through opponents' guys that are otherwise the same size thanks to Exalted. So I have a couple of questions as to ways that, you know, I might build this differently, but I wanted to play Zach's deck, you know, just straight up, rather than make some changes, you know, without actually playing it myself. So my inclination is the deck probably wants more Noble Hierarchs and maybe less Curt Apes. Having a bunch of powerful 3-drops as well as 4-drops makes me really want to be able to accelerate into them with Hierarch. And I've been generally unimpressed by Curt Ape, but it's possible that the format is such that Curt Ape is well positioned right now. Out of the sideboard, there's a whole variety of stuff. Modern is a format where there's a lot of very powerful decks that you need to have, you know, strong answers to. Cards like Stony Silence, obviously very powerful against Affinity, also against Tron, potentially. Slaughter Games, Destructive Revelry, Choke, these are all, you know, great ways to pressure your opponent's, you know, resources and their ability to, you know, combo off in certain situations. Slaughter Games, great against stuff like Scapeshift. Choke, obviously great against any deck that's heavy on islands. There was actually even a Merfolk deck in the top 8 of the Grand Prix, and Choke is quite valuable there as well. Volcanic Fallout, I'm not 100% sure what the Volcanic Fallouts in Zach's sideboard are intended for. They are likely against the Delver decks and their Young Pyromancers and Delvers as well. I can see that being a way to bust through those you know, those swarms of dudes and blockers. I think that I would potentially consider playing something like a Zealous Persecution in that spot, but I can definitely see the attraction of Volcanic Fallout. It does kill your own Hierarchs and Pride Mates, but that's it, I guess. So it's possible that that's a better choice than the one that I might have looked at. Ajani Vengeant, just a quality card against other mid-range and control strategies. Then Grafdigger's Cage, a potential bullet against the pod decks or any sort of reanimation tile strategy. And then obviously Firewalker, great against burn. Mind Sensor, a powerful effect against decks that are looking to search their library, whether they're using stuff like Expedition Map out of Tron or Birthing Pod. Most likely Birthing Pod is the primary target of that one. So anyway, I haven't played with this deck before. I just copied it directly from Zach's top 8 list. Want to get a chance to get a feel for it. Moving into the modern season that's going to begin with Pro Tour Fate Reforged in a few weeks. So I'm excited for that, and definitely my style of deck. Want to take it for a spin and see how it does. So anyway, let's get to it.